Many people have the concept of making money off of Counter-Strike. Playing a game with an item that you enjoy that also makes you money is an amazing idea. Fortunately, it isn't very hard to make money in this market. Just don't buy a bunch of items when the Chinese communities have bought up all of the supply and boosted prices to new all-time highs, then refuse to sell assuming prices will continue going up when the prices were clearly an artificial pump. Still, regardless of short-term market trends, some items are better than others, whether it's long-term community interest, a narrative pushed by popular figures, a surprisingly rare item, something that will be rare in due time, pattern-based collecting, or abusing ridiculous trends of days past. There are avenues that one can take when purchasing an item that they will not only enjoy in their day-to-day games, but also enjoy some boost to their inventory value. Valve have various methods of phasing out certain items, causing drops to slow down and prices to rise. There is a difference between someone who buys a print stream and calls it an investment, versus someone who buys a hot rod and calls it an investment. Even if the print stream performs well, it's unlikely to perform like a true investment item. For someone looking to add to their existing loadout or to create their first loadout, I would like to simplify the process of searching for an item based on your needs. There are various methods of obtaining a skin, such as cases, operation drops, the new armory system, and endgame drops. And the items themselves have variances in patterns, floats, and applied stickers. Every facet of this market has items with a bright future, and others that likely do not. If we look at a pure investment skin, we are mostly venturing into the world of operations. Due to the limited runtime of an operation, with history showing us no reintroduction of any kind for the collections, once an operation ends, that is essentially the price floor. Since no new items can be obtained outside of trade-ups, which results in 10 items getting consumed to create one higher tier item, supply for these collections continue to dwindle over time. An operation skin is an investment skin in the purest form. It's the closest thing we have to major stickers when looking at skins. Major stickers have a limited supply when the sale ends, just like operations. These stickers also get applied. This deletes the active supply of stickers, which is what trade-ups do to these lower tier operation items. Operation skins are also a somewhat similar concept to cases that get removed from the active drop pool. Once a case becomes a rare drop, or in certain situations like operation cases, completely discontinued, the unboxing rate of these items dwarfs the supply rate, and supply decreases. It is worth noting that the highest rarity item will see a supply increase over time as trade-ups continue throughout the years. But despite the April Fool's debauchery, you cannot trade up for knives, but you can get some pretty wicked skins. That is why people are purchasing these ugly and uninteresting items specifically for investment purposes instead of the high tier items that everyone fawns over. They are not buying a skin, they are buying into the eventual depletion of supply as people hunt the higher tier items that are actually desirable. Low purchase price, and actively decreasing supply, easy sales of large quantities. Yes, a factory new Gungnir did start at $700 and is floating around $17,000 today. 2,400%, very impressive and could be life-changing money. But from the same collection, a field-tested MP7 Scorched, while extremely boring, went from 3 cents to $5.35, 17,700%. In theory, if you bought 700 of these, which would have been an absolute nightmare to do, you would have $124,000 of value. Now, while these low-tier skins are easy to sell, trying to offload 23,000 of these MP7s today would be near impossible. Don't try it at home. But that's the difference. Even though operation skins would be considered investment items, the decision making for which tier of operation skin you choose can make a significant difference as well. Would you like to get the cool skin that you can flex to all of your friends and random people in your games? Fair play if you do. We have years and years of collections to reference, and the end result is always the same: a profitable item that collectors will eventually drool over. But the guy who bought the low tier ugly skins decided to sell off, and now he has 4 of those skins while you hold on to 1. But hey, most of us play the game. This Death Strike was a bad investment compared to the R8 Desert Bush that exists in the same collection. Not like it was a bad investment overall. I'm up a good amount on my purchase and I got to use a cool scout. Not every purchase needs to be an investment decision. We can all enjoy some nice skins from time to time without thinking about the numbers. And it's not like the numbers are bad anyways. Akin to operation items are weekly drop items that can function more or less like operation items. Tiers of skins from lowest to highest tier and their complete removal from the game when replaced. Unfortunately, these collections lack the true high tier Halo item that people will spend thousands for and run years of trade ups on. Another downside is the immense quantity that comes from years of free drops to all players. Old school exceptions with relatively low quantity do exist, but with a niche community hunting these items, they have been outperformed by operation collections. It seems like people enjoyed my video about the potential that exists in Italy, Lake, Bank, and Train collections. All of these have been removed following the recent update that added new collections to the game. Despite some fairly resilient prices as low tier items have broken from the 4-cent price floor, operation level profits are nothing more than impossible. I have been loosely following these items, and after half of the market got wiped out, the dual-breaded colonies that I have bought have been regressing. The Steam market has seen an additional 1,000 listings since the initial spike. Collections that have existed in the game for over a decade have a supply so immense it will likely take years for a sizable dent to be made. And the collections that were removed years before Counter-Strike blew up have been forgotten outside of some niche collections, as the skins don't really have much to offer besides their price tag. Overall, it's hard to consider these a real possibility until they prove their worth. One of the more controversial items when considering a play skin, but also something that might pass as an investment item, would be case skins. For years, these items have been written off as a waste of time. First, the case of choice gets added to the game, and prices crash until they hit the floor. Then the case will continue dropping in-game for an undetermined period until it is eventually replaced by a new case. That old case then gets moved to the rare drop pool. During the time frame where a case is actively dropping, millions are given to players and millions are opened. Not only are a ton of each rarity opened, but like every non-souvenir skin in the game, trade-ups are completed, increasing supply for the desirable items. The cases themselves are considered good investments due to their cheap purchase price. Not to mention the culture built around Counter-Strike early on, resulting in the majority of cases being opened, as people playing this game do have a gambling addiction, let's be honest. But I have to say, the culture around these items has changed over the years. Just a few years ago, we never considered $100 cases, or the culture around skins to become so massive, or the insane prices of gloves considered where they started, or case-hardened blue gems selling in the 6 digits, or AK Vulcans, which were once a dime a dozen, now selling for hundreds, or the low-quality PNG Lightning Strike becoming one of the most expensive ops. Up until COVID times, if you prioritize profits, the idea of buying a skin that came from a case seemed like a long shot. Nowadays, I can't really argue against it. Not only have some items reached the arbitrary high tier category in my opinion, but you can also search for profits from people doing trade-ups like you would with an operation collection. The Dragon Tattoo has been an insanely profitable skin over the years. No argument can be made otherwise. Furthermore, one aspect of case skins that is actually more beneficial than operation collections is the existence of collectible skins in the lowest rarity. I'd say the first real example of this exists in the Operation Hydra case. The blueprint is a clean looking USP. With a blue themed loadout, it's the perfect skin. But this skin is also a blue rarity. This is the lowest rarity for a case item. The only way another one can be obtained is through opening a case. And with the price of Hydra cases today, it's no surprise that very few of these are getting added to the database. And today we see another instance of this with the Black Lotus USP contained in the discontinued Operation Riptide case. Very similar results so far. In 2025, it would be disingenuous to say that skins obtained through cases are not investment items. Pick a case that has spent years outside of the active drop pool, a popular item that people won't forget about. Pattern-based items that demand a premium, something that hasn't been in the active drop pool for hundreds of years. The rubric for these items is quite simple, and with a decade of cases to choose from, the options are vast. We can't forget about gloves and knives with all of this market chaos that's just happened in the last few weeks. Yes, the party is over. Yes, many items will fall back down near their original market value. But do you remember what used to be? Butterfly knives for under $100. Cheaper items like gut knives only worth 20 keys. Gloves are even more insane, as their initial introduction to Counter-Strike was met with skepticism and hate. Field-tested hedge maces selling for $200 US. Pandora's box for $300. With knives, you have to add a zero to most of the old school prices, 10x or more. With desirable gloves upon release, you have to add a couple zeros. Unironically, buying gloves back in 2018 is one of the best purchases you could have made. Some of these gloves have outperformed the cases themselves, operation items, major stickers. These are the typical investment items that people lean on. Gloves are a unique situation as they were rejected by the Counter-Strike community early on, and in years gone by, that narrative has shifted, but there's really no special secret here. The Hydra case was a limited drop as it was an operation item. The glove case was an active weekly drop, but after getting removed, it was the only affordable way to obtain this generation of gloves. Well, until it wasn't. The same can be said about OG knives today. The cheapest case that something like a Karambit Fade can be pulled from is the revolver case, and even after the price crash, I think that we can agree this isn't exactly a cheap case. OG knives won't see an explosion like OG gloves did, as they were contained in 11 cases instead of 2, and they were also priced in as the most valuable item since their conception, unlike gloves. But the same philosophy remains. At some point, these knives will rarely be opened and prices will react accordingly. It has already been happening for years, and will continue to trend in this direction, whether the Chinese community designates millions of dollars to manipulating these items or not. So instead of buying a skeleton fade that has an insane supply due to how long Fracture has been in the active drop pool, why not buy a bayonet gamma Doppler? Still a cool skin, but the gamma cases are trending towards a price range where your typical user will not consider opening one. Bang for your buck, the skeleton fade won't be anywhere near the price of a bayonet gamma Doppler in the next few years. Too much of a head start on active supply, even if the Fracture case gets removed tomorrow. For those that have been around the channel for a while, you may have noticed that my content has shifted from pure investment style content to theory and contextual information about days gone by. The amazing and problematic thing about Counter-Strike, as can be seen with the recent Chinese involvement of pumping skins to new all-time highs, is that this market is completely unpredictable from item to item. I'm making this video as a rubric that can be used when searching for a new item to determine whether or not it checks enough boxes to have a bright future. Through my time of learning with all of you through this channel, I have learned that specific supply numbers, community interest upon release, rate of consumption, and expected removal dates are very useful pieces of information that will set you up long term. But short term, this market moves however it chooses, and the fundamentally sound item isn't always the best decision. From the introduction of massive Chinese influence, one of the best investments you could have made was stupid banana foil stickers. These stickers suck, they rarely get applied and no one really collects them. But every summer, China would pump them to the moon as a signal that the market is about to explode. The amount of money you could have made buying these up during winter and dumping during summer eclipses nearly any other investment you could have made during these years. And fundamentally, there's really no logic behind these stickers rising in price by any meaningful margin. Not every detail needs to be searched with a fine-tooth comb by taking months of deliberation accumulating data. Some of my best investments were whimsical purchases made with very little thought. Checking off a few boxes around supply and community interest puts you in a good position. Don't sweat the details too much. These items are meant to be enjoyed in a game, not a spreadsheet. Through this video, I hope you have gained some context as to what has performed well historically and how certain factors have more weight than others. But buy what you enjoy, play the game that you love, cash in when the market is favorable, rinse and repeat.